Hey, what's up, everyone? This is your friendly neighborhood comic book geek, the KMN 1971, back with my monthly comic book haul. This month's haul will consist of some old school and some vintage Jim Lee. I take a tumble down the MI13 rabbit hole, and I have a nice, well, possibly nice, underrated John Byrne comic from the Bronze Age, as well as the usual mixture of Bronze, Star Wars, and a little sprinkle of 80s nostalgia. So, kicking it off this month, we'll start off with Darth Vader number 20, the Lucasfilm limited, 50 years limited variant that features the first cover appearance of the Mandalorian and Baby Grogu. Awesome. Love the Book of Boba Fett. It wasn't perfect, but there was enough about it that I liked. Slight spoilers, it's been out for a week already, but come on, man. You gave me Luke and Ahsoka Tano in the same episode. That's awesome. I can't wait for season 3 of The Mandalorian. So, anyway, really happy to pick this book up. I already had it on my pull list, which made it a lot easier picking it up, obviously. Another kind of hot Star Wars book that's somewhat fresh off the rack also is Crimson Reign, number 1. This is the Raza connecting variant. So I just picked this up at my backup store because I just thought the cover was cool. And in true KMN fashion, ass backwards, I ended up looking it up online, and this is one of those weird books that you can probably find for under $10, but for some reason or another, it can go for over 20, 25 also. Why? I have no idea. I ended up picking it up basically because at my regular comic book shop, I ended up getting this variant for issue number 2, so I kind of ended up searching out issue number 1 and finding out that they're kind of in demand. Other than them just looking like dope badass covers, I have no idea why they are, but I would recommend if you can find it out there on for cover price. I would. I just picked this up yesterday. Some cheap Star Wars spec. You can't say that very often for a first appearance. Star Wars Beckett number 1. I haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but it's the first appearance of Beckett and another character that I can't seem to remember at the moment. Screaming Citadel. This is one of those weird incentive variants. Number 1. I wasn't crazy about the story arc, but I am big on first meetings of major characters, and this contains the first meeting between Luke Skywalker and Dr. APHRA. Speaking of which, Dr. APHRA number 1. I ended up picking this, and this is from her first volume, featuring the first time that Dr. APHRA had her first ongoing series, obviously. But I ended up picking this up probably about 2 weeks before the Black Chrysanthemum made his debut on the Book of Boba Fett, so really happy. Once again, only like $3. Time for a little 80s nostalgia. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 38. This is another run that at one of my shops, they have a little bit of a back issue run of these issues. None of the major keys, but any G.I. Joe issue from the 1980s that I don't have is worth me picking up, in my opinion anyway. Especially if they sport these awesome Mike Zeck covers. So this is just a killer one in my opinion. So here we have number 38. Actually, let me make a little room. We have number 43. For some reason online, this one goes for a little bit more than the other surrounding satellite filler issues. I don't know why. First appearance of another character, maybe the mechanic or something like that. I'm not sure. G.I. Joe Special Missions, number 1. Also another great Mike Zeck cover. And yeah, man, G.I. Joe was so big back in the 1980s. In the true Marvel tradition, they had to spin it off into another title. So, happy to pick that up. I actually never owned this one back in the day. Little Bronze Age goodness. Still working on my Conan the Barbarian run. So here we have number 88. Number 92. Number 93. Love that John Buscema, Ernie Chan cover right there, man. Whew. And number 94. Still chipping away at that run. All right, make a little bit more room. All right, one of my favorite artists, or creators in general from back in the day, was John Byrne. I mean, if you were a kid, tween, teen from the 1980s, most likely, and I was all of those at one point, in the 1980s, I mean, you were most likely a big fan of John Byrne. In my opinion, back in the day, it was him, George Perez, and Frank Miller that were above all others. So, as an old school comic book collector, I always like to try to search out the first published work of some of my favorite creators. So, for the longest time, I thought it was this comic, Doomsday +1, #1 from Charlton Comics. So, but it is not. Luckily, I ended up seeing a post from fellow YouTuber and IG member Read Comics 81, and he ended up posting this comic right here, E-Man #6, which features the first published artwork from John Byrne from in the Bronze Age. Awesome. It's in the backup story. It's not in the actual main E-Man story. But other than this, John Byrne's only other published artwork was in this, I forget, an old horror magazine from the 1970s, maybe Ghostly Tales. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that title. But this is his first published artwork in a comic book. And I mean, I feel that is incredibly, incredibly underrated. As soon as he ended up posting that, I ended up putting that on my want list, and I ended up going to my local 3 or 4 shops, couldn't find it, ended up going online, and I ended up finding this very fine plus copy for around like $10. And of course, the very next week, at one of my other shops, I must have looked over it, but I ended up finding one that's probably in, I don't know, fine plus the VF minus shape for like $3. So if you can see this one out and about, I would definitely pick it up. John Byrne is a legend. I mean, I know he's nowhere near as popular as he used to be, and some of his online opinions or opinions in general are really out there. But for his based on his body of work, I have a lot of respect for him. So yeah, I would definitely pick this up if you see it out and about. Once again, shout out to Read Comics 81. If you are not subscribed to him, please do so. He's a great dude, and he always has great content on his channel. Moving on. How about the MI13 Spec Train? So I ended up getting on it over the past couple of months or so. So all of these books are really cheap. So why the heck not? Excalibur 101, this is the first mention of the department, which would end up becoming MI13. And here we have Captain Britain in MI13 #4. This is the first, this is the issue where Black Knight joins the team. The whole reason that I ended up getting on this Spec Train to begin with, like many of you, I finally ended up getting to see the Eternals, and I saw that last scene, so I tried to search out the first meeting between the Black Knight and Blade, and I don't really think I succeeded, but I ended up picking up a bunch of cheap spec books in the meantime. So here's, once again, issue #4. This is where the Black Knight joins the team. Here's issue #5, where Blade joins the team. I had heard this is where they first meet, but I don't think that is the case. In issue #6 and in issue #8, they actually do appear in panel together, but they don't have any real interaction, and there's kind of an explosion going on and a lot of action, so I don't know if that would really count, and that's where I kind of just quit and gave up. But one thing I did take of note of this series is, one, it's pretty damn good. I've always been a fan of these series that use like D to Z list characters, and the artwork and the storytelling is really good. I mean, if this book was out today, this would be quality-wise one of Marvel's best titles, which says a lot for why comic sales are the way they are, I feel, right now. All right, so let's end this haul with some old school and new school Jim Lee, who is my all-time favorite artist. So here we have my second copy of the Punisher War Journal, #1. Starting last year, I ended up I started picking up some vintage Jim Lee in doubles because I just think he's a classic artist, and there seems to be this renaissance of interest of those artists from that era. So I figured, why not? If I can pick them up on the cheap, why the heck not? So here's #1. Here is #6, part 1 of the classic Punisher versus Wolverine story arc. And of course, #7. And as far as some new school stuff, I ended up picking up those incentive black and white sketch covers that he did for the Scott Snyder's Justice League run. So here's #7, featuring Superman. Here is #4, featuring Wonder Woman. And here is my favorite one out of the bunch, obviously, Justice League #1. This features, this incredible rendition of Batman. Beautiful cover. I like this one even better than his RRP All-Star Batman and Robin #1 sketch cover. Just fantastic. If you're a Batman fan, or if you're a DC fan, if you're a Jim Lee fan, I can't see how you wouldn't just be enamored with this like I am. So that's all I have for this month. I will be back next month with more of the same geekery. And thank you all for watching, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you next month for some comic book March Madness. All right, take it easy. See ya.